the hashtag sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another edition of the hashtag Roundtable, where we just basically yell at the chat pretty much for about an hour and talk about the Bills. I'm joined by three esteemed colleagues tonight. Unfortunately, Dan Mitchell wasn't able to join us tonight. He has his AFC East roundup, which you guys probably check out at around 10 o'clock tonight, or if he already did it, I'm not really sure. Anyway, we have tricked one more time into coming on our show the very talented individual from NY Up and Syracuse.com, Matt Parrino. He is on hashtag sports once again. Matt, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Good, man. You don't got to trick me anytime. I'm a man of the people. You guys are my people, man. Like I love interacting with Bills Mafia. People ask me that all the time. Like, you do like a lot of different shows. You have a lot of different people on. I'm like, yeah, man, that's where the conversation's at. Like, so let's have it and let's do it. So I like it. I'm glad, thankful to you guys for having me on.
No doubt. Thank you, Matty. And the man, Smoking Joe Sharpe, covering the Bills and the Sabres over on Believers Talk. Joe, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Doing wonderful. As we were talking before we got on here, I'm watching the Buffalo Bulls right now. I won't give any teasers for those taping it. Horns up, baby. Absolutely. So we're having a good time talking Bills, watching the Buffalo Bulls. Can't have a better Wednesday night than that. So let's get started.
Fantastic. And the Doogie Howser of Buffalo Bills Talk here on YouTube, the one and only Clayton Garrett from the Cold Front Report. Clayton, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing all right, Mario. I'd be doing a little better if your introductions got a little better.
It's tough. I'm trying to breathe in here with all the icy hot I need to use because I'm a dinosaur. So it's really tough for me to do that, Clayton. I apologize. That being said, yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have an all-star lineup here for you. We got Daniel, Buffalo Mafia News, Paul Berg, Luis, and Rick, and Apex already in the chat. Before we get into our episode, I just wanted to once again remind everyone that from now until the end of the year, the hashtag Heroes, which is the channel members for hashtag Sports, 100% of the channel memberships are going to be going to the Punt Foundation, which is Brian Mormon's foundation for children with pediatric cancer. We can't thank you enough. So if you want to be a hashtag hero, after you hit that subscribe button, be sure that you hit the join button and become a hashtag hero for the rest of the year. So we just wanted to throw that out there. So thanks, Luis. I try to be funny every once in a while. It doesn't really work. But ladies and gentlemen of Hashtag Nation, we have a very, very huge matchup for the Buffalo Bills as the 6-2 Bills will be taking on the 6-1 Seahawks. A lot of people worried about this game. A lot of people nervous. What's gonna happen? I want to get Clayton's thoughts. Then I'll go to Matt and then clean up with Joe. Clayton, first thoughts on the Hawks. What's your first initial reaction? I think I opened at a 3-point line and it kind of surprised a lot of people. What's your first thoughts about the Seahawks-Bills game?
Well, it's definitely a test. It's definitely a test for this football team. You can say what you will about the New England Patriots and you can say what you will about the New York Jets game, but there is no doubt in anybody's mind that this is a solid football team that you're going to face. Russell Wilson's playing at an MVP level. Their defense is shaky. They don't have a great defense. Don't get me wrong. But Russell Wilson is playing at an MVP level. We've seen him use Tyler Lockett to the effect of 50 fantasy points in a week. And yes, I was on the receiving end of that in my league. So, and then DK Metcalf, who has just been a freak, man. He's been a real specimen in his second season. He's really come to fruition. He's putting all of his skills together and utilizing them, and he's been having a hell of a season. So there's a lot of concern to be had on the offense or on the defensive side of the ball for the Bills defense. And I think it's really going to come down to if this Bills offense can execute and be able to keep up with this Seahawks offense. It could be an effective day, but if the Seahawks can find ways to stop the Bills the Bills on the offensive side of the ball and they can get the better of them in maybe the third quarter, I don't think this is going to be an easy day for the Bills.
Ugh. Maddie, what do you got on the matchup this weekend?
You know, two things on both sides of the ball, starting the offensive side of the ball. I think, like, this offense just needs to loosen up a little bit. And I think one of the things I really liked about the start of the season is it felt like they had, like, a specific plan, and they came out and they executed against a couple of good defenses. I mean, you go back to two of their better performances. I mean, they took it to the Miami Dolphins. They took it to the Rams, who have the best pass defense in the NFL. You got to get back to that this week because you're going against Seattle, who there's no excuses, man. Like, Seattle's pass defense has been terrible. And I know they might get a little healthier this week, But, it's no excuse. They're coming West Coast to East Coast. Josh Allen has to come out. They have to air out the ball, whether John Brown's there or not. Gabriel Davis is going to have to step up. I mentioned on my podcast tonight, one little flyer I think that the Bills might have in their back pocket, an ace in the hole, if you will, is maybe going back to that Duke Williams look. And, my guy Marcel brought it up. Asking him to be in that role, a complementary role to a number one like Stephon Diggs, is much different than asking him to come in and be the guy that's going to get all the targets. And so that's one thing that stands out to me. Defensively, you got to tackle against this team, man. Like DK Metcalf, he's a beast, and he made some great plays, and he can beat you down the field, but he can beat you in that intermediate range where if he just gets the ball in space, if you don't tackle, he is going to make you pay. And Levi Wallace, man, AJ Klein, Taron Johnson, not Taron Johnson, I won't put him in this pile, but there's been some suspect tackling issues in that second and third level, and you can't have that against this team.
Joe, what do you got, buddy?
I completely agree with Clayton and Matt, but what's the knock on the Bills team right now? We've lost to two obvious playoff teams in the Titans and the Chiefs. So the knock right now on the Buffalo Bills is can they beat a playoff team? So in my opinion, this is really a good test for the Buffalo Bills, but also a good opportunity for the Buffalo Bills. Listen, no one outside of Bills Mafia expects the Buffalo Bills to come in and win this game. And like Matt said, this is a West Coast team coming east. You look at that Miami Dolphins game that Seattle played. Seattle won that game, but they only won that game, I believe, by 8 points overall. So it wasn't like they blew out the Dolphins. I think that the Buffalo Bills, just like they caught the Rams off guard to start that game, if they can get off to a hot start, there might be some surprises in store. I mean, even half of Bills Mafia is saying that they don't think the Bills have a chance to win this game. And listen, the Bills can go into this game feeling like they got nothing to lose because, again, no one's giving them much of a chance. But this might be the game where the Buffalo Bills say, hey, we can beat a playoff team and, maybe use that as a stepping stone moving forward now that they start the second half of the season.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, going into this game, I'm starting to get the feeling of the ghosts of Christmas past. And I've mentioned this on the show a bunch of times before with the Kansas City game. Now, Clayton and Joe unfortunately heard my rant about what happened in the Kansas City game as far as the philosophy for the Buffalo Bills. What did they want to try to do? Their defensive philosophy going against the Chiefs. I said, you know what? They have Kansas City has all these weapons on the outside. How are you going to stop all these amazing weapons that they have? Well, what are you going to do? You're going to try to cover the outside and concede the run. Well, I don't think the Buffalo Bills decided to concede 7 yards a carry. I think they decided to concede like 4. So they're going to say, okay, you're going to pick your poison. You're coming in facing Russell Wilson, who's thrown for like 360 yards a game. DK Metcalf is not from this planet, I don't believe. And then you got Tyler Lockett, who's just tearing up everybody. So in order to try to combat that, what do you think they're going to try to do? They might try to implore the same quote-unquote philosophy that they wanted against the Chiefs in order to stop such a potent offense as far as the air attack goes and force the Seattle Seahawks to run the ball and then keep the ball on the ground, shorten the game up a little bit because the number one scoring offense is coming in, to play. So I unfortunately think that may be the philosophy of the Buffalo Bills defense. Now, I'm not at practice. I don't know what they're doing, but that's the feeling I'm getting. And so unfortunately, Clayton, when I get these like feelings of the game or my stupid bold predictions that come up every once in a while, they're not good. They're not good when it comes to that.
Not good. What do you mean? Like the results of them?
The results of them. Like when I said that Fitzpatrick's going to throw for 3 Bills against the Bill.
What are you talking about, Mario?
Defense.
I've said the worst bold predictions in comparison to this. Like you get them right. I'm just throwing spaghetti at the wall.
But they're awful against the Bills all the time. They're always so bad. I don't want that to happen to the Bills. But like you guys said, you guys started to do it, and we'll go round robin backwards. We'll go Joe, Matt, and then Clayton. Matchups are going to be a key to this, obviously, to this game. Joe, who do you put on the Manimal? Who do you put on DK Metcalf? Because I think that's a question that a lot of Bills Mafia really wants to know. Who are you putting on him?
Well, yeah, that's really tough. I mean, I would love to see the matchup between White and DK Metcalf. I really would. I think that this is an opportunity. You have a star player. You have a Pro Bowler. You say, hey, you go get the number one wide receiver on the other team. You lock him down. But I would be surprised if they left anyone man-to-man against DK Metcalf. I think that You might see DK double teamed a lot, and that really scares me about what Tyler Lockett could do on the other side. I mean, we talk about Teron Johnson, we talk about Levi Wallace, we talk about maybe Josh Norman being back. It doesn't even matter because I think none of them can guard Lockett on the other side.
All right, Matt, what's the biggest matchup in this game that you see? Like, number one, who do you if you're putting a guy on Metcalf, who are you putting in? What's another matchup that you see in this game?
You know, like I know over the last couple of years, against some of these top matchups, like DeAndre Hopkins, you put Tre'Davious White on him and let him travel a little bit. I'm not so sure if that's the plan, if that'll be the plan, because I really think that they're going to get back to their zone roots and really just make everybody just be honest and make plays when they come to you. That's one of the things that I think is biggest thing missing with this defense, and pieces are missing. Like, don't get me wrong. I think that's a big part of why they've struggled in big stretches is, first of all, having Matt Milano not on the field hurts. And when he's been on the field, you can tell he's not completely right. He's not comfortable. So, they need to get back to everybody doing their job. Can they count on everybody to do their job? When they've asked A.J. Klein to do his job, a lot of times he's failed in that role. And I think that's a big reason why they brought in Darren Lee. And Sean McDermott's, he was very, he's going to earn everything he can get. And he was very kind of nonchalant about, them bringing him in. And they brought him in the practice squad. That's a cool thing about this year. They can bring guys in off the streets and put them on their practice squad, and it doesn't have to be a big deal. But I think Trey White will be on DK Metcalf a lot. This could be a game where you get a little creative and maybe put Saran Neal out there. I think that's an interesting idea. He's huge. He's physical. I think he did a pretty good job on Travis Kelce, even though Kelce had himself a nice day. I think he just offers a different look. In terms of matchups, I like who's going to guard Stephon Diggs. I mean, we're talking about the number 2 wide receiver in the NFL right now. And, I sneaky think that they have a nice secondary, which is, kind of confusing. I haven't watched all of their games, why their pass defense has been so atrocious. The defensive line looks terrible, so they're probably not getting any pressure. That's a big part of it. But, Shaquille Griffin, Quadri Diggs, one of those guys, or both of them could get locked up with Stephon Diggs. I think that's almost equally as appetizing of a matchup.
Nice. Clayton, what do you got?
Well, Matt kind of took mine. I was going to bring up Saran Neal, but in regards to DK Metcalf, really, I would be interested to see Saran Neal cover him. I really would. I think that'd be a matchup that a lot of us from the outside looking in wouldn't have initially thought. But, like to the reasons Matt pointed to, he had a good game against Travis Kelce in limited action. He has a little more size. He has a little more beef behind him. And I feel like that poses a threat over top, which means you would have to have a safety over top and helping him out and whatnot. But I do feel like you're going to see a majority of the time, you're going to see Trey White covering him. And I tend to agree with you, Mario. I feel like you're going to see a very similar plan philosophically against the Seahawks as you saw to the Chiefs, where they're almost exclusively playing zone. And I really wouldn't be shocked in that regard, considering mainly because David Moore, we can't really forget about David Moore, their slot wide receiver. David Moore is quietly a very, very solid slot wide receiver. He really is. I mean, maybe that's a testament to Russell Wilson getting a lot of guys involved, but I like David Moore a lot. I like his route running ability. I like his ability to create separation with his feet. And I really do think David Moore is a solid slot wide receiver. And with that, I'm concerned about Teron Johnson going into this game unless they plan on splitting the snaps between him and Darryl Worley. Time will tell, and we'll see if that's the case. But if Teron Johnson's getting a majority of the snaps at nickel corner this week, I'm definitely concerned about him facing up against David Moore.
I know, it's funny though, because it's a common theme of hashtag. Paul and I both agree. We've always said this about Trey White. Listen, you want to put him up against a physical wide receiver, okay, that's fine. The speed guys, he tends to struggle with a little bit with the speedsters, but the physical wide receivers he's able to match up with and be physical with. They have another corner who's also very physical, who's Paul's favorite, which is Dane Jackson. He plays a very physical role. I don't know what his role will be in this game, but I mean, anyone you put up against Metcalf, it's going to be the guy can't only outmuscle you, but he can outrun you. I mean, that's the scariest part about it. So when you employ the zone, what happens is this front four that the Buffalo Bills they haven't been able to generate enough pressure without blitzing, and that's the tough part about it. And I think that they'll probably pick and choose their spots, and they'll be very, they'll be very conscious of that. But I think one of the philosophies that teams have been bringing in against the Buffalo Bills is something that the Bills should probably try to do to the Seahawks. And the fact is, you try to rush 4, play 7 in coverage, stay in your lanes. Don't let them run. That's what you want to do. Tell me that wouldn't work perfectly against Russell Wilson. I mean, he's a much more seasoned quarterback. However, that is the kind of philosophy, because Wilson makes life so difficult for you when he gets out of the pocket, because he's one of those rare mobile quarterbacks that is able to kill you because he's always looking downfield when he's out of the pocket. I mean, Joe and I were even talking about it before we even came onto the show, and Joe says he's probably one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He puts him up there in the Mahomes talk, and he's surprised. Joe, he hasn't won an MVP. That baffles me that how valuable this guy is to his team. He's never won the MVP of the league because he doesn't have those gaudy numbers. Well, now he does. He's putting up those gaudy numbers now, but it's so interesting to see. Now, here's what I want to know. And I'll start with Matt. I'll go to Joe and then clean up with Clayton. What's one thing about the Patriots game? Because that seemed to worry. It worried like half of Bills Mafia, and the other half of Bills Mafia was just excited that they beat the Patriots. What is one thing, Matt, that you would take from that Patriot game and say, okay, if they bring that over to the Seahawks, they have a really good chance of beating the Seahawks?
I would say like the success of the run game, just from a sense of finding a balance. But I say that, and at the same time, I think, throw out the run game, throw it 45 times, and just go blow for blow with Russell Wilson. So I don't know, but I liked what we saw there, and I almost think like maybe that the running game success like as itself, but getting Devin Singletary and Zach Moss maybe involved in the passing game a little bit more, like effectively in this game. Like I think like, this could be a game where you get maybe 10 to 12 receptions for your running backs combined if you're able to utilize that screen game. I mean, that's something going back to training camp we weren't allowed to talk about back then that we can talk about now. There was a lot of times in training camp where we saw both those guys on the field at the same time, during first team versus first team. I thought there were some interesting looks that the Bills would utilize more. Now, Zach Moss has been hurt a little bit. We haven't seen as much as that, but this could be a game where, Brian Dable goes into the bag of tricks and gets really creative. But calm down a little bit. I'm a big Brian Dable guy, but calm down a little. Don't get too crazy with it, okay? We don't need all these reverses and all this stuff. Attack down the field. Like, go back to what worked in the first half of the game. Get different guys in the ball, get the ball in their hands, and let them work. And I think the running backs could be an interesting way to go.
Matt, Matty. That you brought up two names in both of your analysis that happened to like Clayton's got PTSD from AJ Klein and Brian Dable. I really think he does. We'll get to that. We'll get to Clayton. I'll let you. I know you're stewing over there. We gotta get to Joe. I want to hear what Joe's taking. What would you take from the Patriots game, Joe, and put it into the matchup with the Seahawks?
Well, trying to go a different route from Matt, just to spice things up a little bit. The first half containment on Cam Newton, I thought the defensive line did a pretty good job in the first half. Now, I know Seattle's not a run-heavy team, but at the same time, if you can make them one-dimensional early on, that might help your chances of pulling off this upset. I mean, you think about last week against the game against the Patriots, they only had 44 rushing yards in the first half. I mean, if you put that together with the second half against the Jets, the Bills defense played a really good game if you count the second half of the Jets game and the first half of the Patriots game, only allowing 6 points and 40-some yards rushing the ball. I mean, I think that would be something that would really benefit the Buffalo Bills, obviously, in this game. I know that everyone thinks about the Seattle Seahawks. Last thing you think about is running the ball. But if our front four can prevent because I always look at Russell Wilson. This is what, to me, makes him one of the best quarterbacks in the league, is people look at Russell Wilson, and yes, he can run the ball, but he's always looking downfield. He never wants to run the ball. He knows how to extend plays and find an open receiver. But if you can contain him into the pocket and contain him overall, I think that would be a huge benefit for the Buffalo Bills.
Love it. Clayton,
Go.
Your boys. Matty P brought up your boys. AJ, we won't talk about AJ Klein right now, but we're going to talk about Brian Dable. But I mean, I know you will eventually, but what would you bring over from the Pats game into the Seahawks game?
The performance of the interior offensive line, that's for sure. Looking at games past, that's really been the deficiency of the Bills' offensive line as a whole. Not just in pass protection, not just in the run game, but in the entirety of the offensive line. That's really been the sore spot. And until John Feliciano was plugged in at center, Brian Winters and Ike Bacher looked like a practice squad guy and a dude they signed a week before the preseason ended. But then John Feliciano was plugged in there at center, and they looked really good. They had nice synergy with between those three players, and it was fairly obvious considering the rushing performance that the Bills put on. And it was really impressive, going throughout the week, Feliciano talking about how he didn't take any snaps at center in practice leading up to the game. That's impressive. And we really can't sit here and say with any certainty the availability of Cody Ford or Mitch Morse leading into this game. Mitch Morse is in concussion protocol, and Cody Ford's still dealing with that knee injury. So we can't really say for sure whether or not those two players are going to be available. But if they can take the performance of the interior offensive line from the Patriots game and apply it into the Seahawks game, I feel like you're going to see a very successful day for the Bills, not just in the rushing attack, but also the passing attack as well in this game.
Yeah, I beat the point like a dead horse with the 7 defensive backs that the New England Patriots decided to use on various downs against the Buffalo Bills, and the fact that the guards were able to get up to the second level, and you got a guard against a defensive back. I mean, that's just no question right there. But I will agree, and I'll echo your sentiment in the fact that Feliciano brings a different element to this offensive line. Mongo is a different animal. Like, I don't know, I can't put my finger on it what it is, but he had experience playing center last year when Morse was out, and Morse, we have to, we take a step back about this. And I know we said it before. His 5th concussion. I mean, we're talking about the guy's livelihood now. This is not something like, oh, could he be ready for this week or that week? I'm worried about the guy's livelihood at this point. So I hope that he's not trying to skirt the concussion protocol, and I'm sure he's not. But that's the thing about it is, like, you have to go through all these different steps as far as the protocol is concerned. And I'm just worried about the guy myself. I mean, now I'll get off my soapbox. But that being said, it's just a different kind of feel with this offensive line. But we do have to take into consideration the fact that the New England Patriots were running a lot of 7 defensive back looks. I think what they're going to try to do, they can't just have, like, I'll just say this. You can't have Josh Allen throw the ball 18 times and expect to beat the Seahawks. That's not going to work. What you can do is, like a lot of, like the three of you said, having a balance and having them try to work in the run a little bit more. I love the idea of Singletary and Moss in the backfield at the same time, because I think if you go, you want to go 20 personnel, we don't need any tight ends this week, really. You got Beasley, Brown, and Diggs, and then you want to put Moss and Motor in the backfield. You do 2 things when you have that kind of a look. Okay, you got the 5 offensive linemen, and you have the 2 backs. If they decide to bring pressure or odd man pressure or anything else like that, the backs are automatically staying in. You're automatically set up to have 7-man protections if you want. That's what you can do. If they don't, you can send these guys out in the routes. You guys, at any time, Allen can check to send anyone in the routes. Okay, and we have seen so far, from last year over to this year, Singletary has been an animal when picking up blitzes. He's really excelled at that, which gets him on the field more. And Moss, I've never seen him shy away from any kind of contact, but I haven't really seen his, pass blocking game. He has been pretty efficient every once in a while, but he's not really in there too much when they are passing. So that all being said, I would bring that balance over, because the Buffalo Bills had 10 offensive drives to New England's 9 in that game. I think they wanted to shorten that game up a little bit and prove that they could run the ball, give Seattle something else to think about going into that game. So, it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know which EP system Brian Dable is going to implore. Is he going to implore the 45 passes, or is he going to implore the 40 runs? What's he going to do? And like that being said, 58 snaps by the offense it was the lowest snap total for the offense this year. So that was, that New England game was a very, very short game, and I think that's one of the philosophies they need to do. They need to shorten this game up for Wilson. What else do I have in my notepad here? The matchups. The one thing I want to do right before we get to the next point is I wanted to mention the hashtag Heroes one more time. Any channel membership from now until the end of the year, Hashtag heroes. If you become a channel member, 100% of all channel memberships will be going to the Punt Foundation, Brian Mormon's Foundation for children with pediatric cancer. So make sure that after you hit the subscribe button, you go and hit that join button if you want. We have 5 different levels. We have practice squad, 55-man roster, Pro Bowl, All-Pro, and Hall of Fame levels if you want to go and join those. So be sure to check that out. I got a question for everybody. I'm curious. I want to start with Matt, go to Clayton, then Joe. Who has more passing yards in this game? Allen or Wilson? I'm very curious. What's your guys' take on that? Because it'll hinge on my next question.
I'm gonna go Russell Wilson. He just got weapons. I think both of these secondaries are gonna struggle, but I'm really concerned about John Brown's.
Hold on, gentlemen. I got a problem going on with the studio. Apparently, we're not getting any audio from you guys, and I don't know how that even happened. Can't hear Mario, no others. Yeah, nobody wants to hear me ever. So we'll try to fix this in a second. All right, you guys there? No. Dang, why am I not getting any audio from you guys? This is ridiculous. Yeah, it's not working. I heard the Windows ding sound, then it went out. Oh, great. This is phenomenal. Welcome to the land of technical difficulties here. All right. Yeah. What up, nation? We're going to be back in a little bit. Let me see if I can try to fix this problem. All right. See you guys.